What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 25 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. We got a milestone episode here. Can you believe we've been doing this for like 6 months?
No.
That seems kind of crazy,
It
doesn't
does seem a little shocking that it's been that long.
But that's about the long and short of it. Anyway, I'm your host, incomparable Zach Jones, alongside we'll go with the Charlie Sheen to my Emilio Estevez, Lester Jones.
I really don't like Charlie Sheen.
And, of course, we got the Ninth Wonder, Chocolate Thunder, eating pussy by the mile like it's going out of style, the clam slurping, tuna burping, no matter how tired, no matter how hurt, forget about water, he only drinks squirt, the phenomenal A.J. Singh.
Hello, everyone.
All right, guys, as we always start out here, any good, recommendations, things you've watched during the week or played or anything like that?
I finished Lovecraft Country the first season, and it was good.
It ended strong?
Yeah, the whole thing was strong.
I'm going to have to check that out eventually. What about you, AJ?
I went back to watching Future Man on Hulu.
Oh, yeah, you told me about this.
Yeah, it's just a funny show. I like it, so I've been enjoying that.
I haven't heard of that one.
I've been, since I have HBO, I've been catching up on Young Justice Season 3, which is fine. It's fine.
It sounds like a Hallmark show.
Young Justice.
Starring Mario Lopez.
Emilio Estevez.
I usually do this at the end, but I want to do it now. Where can everybody find you guys on Twitter?
I am at a name for this too. Oh, that's number 2.
At Unsolicited SUG.
And you can find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. Have you guys noticed any new followers since we started the show?
On Twitter?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I stay up with mine a little bit, so I go through some of the follow things and follow back, so I gain followers here and there.
I should probably follow more people, but I feel like I spend too much time scrolling through Twitter as it is, so I don't want it to be much longer.
Right.
I'm just getting back on Twitter, and my old phone didn't have it working, so now I got it.
All right, should we get this this show on the road? As tradition dictates, AJ, we'll start with you.
All right, let's see which topic I want to get it started off with. Let's see here. Okay. Denmark debuts new children's TV show about a man with a huge and uncontrollable penis. Denmark's flagship broadcaster has suffered blowback over its newest children's TV program, John Dillermand, an animation starring a man with a penis so massive and flexible it can save children from danger, fetch objects from a river, and operate a pogo stick. The show, whose 13 episodes are available to watch on the DR Network's website, follows his titular character as he navigates an array of unexpected scenarios caused by his inexplicably huge genitalia. In episode 1, for instance, the mustached Dillermand uses his gigantic stripy organ, I don't know if it's stripy, but stripy organ, as a leash for his dog, but quickly finds himself inundated with requests from his neighbors to take their pets out for a walk too. At another point in the show, he is stuck floating in midair after balloons tied to his groin. I don't know how this happens. After balloons are tied to his groin. In another episode, he breaks a friend's vase with his penis and must raise money to pay them back. And in a third, he uses it to steal an ice cream at the zoo. So apparently his penis has the ability to grip or something. Or maybe it curls up. Let's see. The show's opening montage also shows him using his genitals to keep a lion away from a group of children. So a lion doesn't just bite through the penis. The show was generally met with hilarity in Denmark and across the internet, with many praising it as an appropriate and light-hearted way to teach children about the human anatomy. But some took issue with the main character's central trait. Danish politician Morten Messerschmidt, a member of the right-wing Danish People's Party, had had to be right wing, said children should not be forced to watch a cartoon depiction of an adult man's groin. And a handful of parents have taken to Facebook page of DR's children's network, urging them to remove the program. A spokesman for DR told CNN that most of those who criticized the program did so without even having seen the show because it wasn't released yet. That kind of reminds me of Cuties, or was that what it was?
Yeah.
So people got mad they hadn't even seen it yet. Now the great majority here in Denmark are making fun of the few critics instead. Hundreds of thousands are supporting John Dillerman now. In Denmark, it is now a huge success, and the children are watching it in big numbers. She said, telling CNN that 200,000 people have viewed the first episode. In the network's online description of the show, they state that while Dillerman's genitals get him into embarrassing situations, it can be used for good once he embraces that he is different. DR is Denmark's version of like BBC or PBS. They're publicly funded. So what do you guys think of that?
I mean, I say forget about Lovecraft Country. I want to watch this show.
I want to watch at least one episode. This is good.
You haven't tried to look it up yet?
It's on the Danish network, so I haven't tried to look it up yet, no. I might do it today.
There's got to be some YouTube clips or something.
Yeah, I want to see Dillerman to get into sticky situations.
It's like I'm not really into government-funded programming anyway, but it seems like they'd steer clear.
Yeah, you would think the government wouldn't be, yeah.
Although this guy, I think he's given an unreasonable expectation. He's like the supermodels who you can't live up to.
Yeah, now everybody in the village is going to be like, that guy with the big penis can help us all.
Oh yeah, kids are going to be like, sir, can I
get me an ice cream?
Yeah. You don't really want kids being like comfortable around the idea of strangers running around with their penises out or something.
Big dick, yeah.
Although I think there's a business opportunity if we can now make a competing show about a woman with a funny vagina. I mean,
A huge vagina.
We can rake in the dough.
She's like Robin Hood. She's storing gold in there and everything. She's like helping get like sex slaves like out of that whole industry. She's like, hide in here. I'll get you out of here. Come on, let's go.
It's like
all of you.
A shelter for the homeless.
You're a shelter for the homeless.
But
Yeah.
A big penis can keep a lion away, apparently.
I gotta say, it's definitely an inventive idea for a kid show.
Yeah, I think it's unique. You know, I think it's a fun way to portray the human anatomy.
We'll see.
What's it called? Dillerman.
Dillerman. Yeah.
With a name like that, he's got to have a big dick.
I don't know. The name Lester Jones makes you think that dude's got a big dick.
Because
Everyone thinks I'm black.
Yeah.
All right, should we go for Manifesto round one?
Okay, are you guys ready for kind of a long segment maybe on the whole Capitol issue this week?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah,
I got one too.
That happened pretty much right after our last show, so it's been kind of simmering for a little bit.
Yeah, I think our last show we taped on a Tuesday, and then it happened on the Wednesday.
So I mean, there's kind of a lot to unravel here. So, like before their the rally or whatever, apparently, like the Capitol Police had turned down an offer to have like the National Guard on site.
I thought it was Trump. Is the police who did that?
I guess this article made it sound like it was Capitol Police. Like
Okay.
the offer was on the table apparently at some point. So there's that, and like the day before, the FBI, they had an internal memo or whatever. It's like, we're seeing evidence that there's people planning to come to Washington to commit violence and war tomorrow. And so like that didn't go anywhere. So I mean, it seems pretty crazy at that point even. But so like the day of, Trump's at his rally or whatever, and basically he says, yeah, go down there and protest this. And so they go down there and they're breaking in and stuff, and at some point the mayor and their police chief They called the Pentagon and requested help. And basically the Pentagon told them the request had to come from the Capitol Police themselves. So they turned it down at that point, which is kind of crazy. And so finally they get someone from the Capitol Police that puts in a request. And so that goes to the National Guard or a general or whatever. And they're not on standby or anything. They've been turned down, so they're not prepared. And so at that point, he's kind of like doing weird stuff.
Yeah.
But so they're not prepared. And it's 4 hours after that, they finally show up on site. So it's it was a whole mess. Just everything just going up to that. You figure even if you get a call that's a maybe, you're like, oh, okay, let's go take care of this. It seemed like you'd try to get there.
It does make you wonder what's the behind the scenes story. What was Trump in communication with him saying don't do it? Was the chief of police there maybe sympathetic?
Well, it seems like a fair amount of it is kind of protocol and bureaucracy. And I think maybe on the chief police himself, he just hadn't anticipated it. He didn't see them coming down and trying to get in, so he's just maybe we don't need it. But then when they were we need it, everything was so slow to get in motion. It was too late.
I thought I read somewhere though that there was quite a bit of social media posts, advertising that there was going to be some sort of
Right, the FBI knew.
Yeah.
They had pretty good indication, so yeah, there was all that. And also the police chief, you wouldn't think he knew just because like the next day or next couple days he resigned, so
I don't know. I think there's a soft spot in the heart of these authority, police and other, groups that are letting these people get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen in other protests and stuff where BLM was protesting down there, and they did have National Guards on the steps and stuff, and they were prepared. But I guess maybe just because they're well, the president's involved, it's his people, then nothing's going to happen, and then it just got crazy.
I don't know. I have a darker view than that. I just think it's a race thing. Because they beat a cop to death and nothing happened. They still got into the building and they just, leisurely hanging out,
Yeah, it seemed very casual.
I mean,
I noticed that they are now starting to, round up and arrest some of these guys that
yeah, I heard.
were there. But as far as, what their punishment will be, I have no idea. I did see that a lot of them were stuck in airports because they got put on the no-flies list.
They're crying about it. That's what they were crying about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be... Well, the thing is, you're well, the president of the United States told me,
Yeah.
And yeah, so... That's going to be a mess for those people. But I can't say I don't feel bad for anybody. You see that picture, the little old lady in there holding the flag, and you're like, well, Grandma, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah,
You're taking a Greyhound now.
Yeah.
And
she was the one who beat that cop to death with her purse.
It's he's down. I just got to rest against this pillar for a minute, and I'll be ready to go again.
She was the muscle. Did you hear about Mike Pence, what he was going through that whole time? So
I don't know.
Apparently at the rally, Trump had really gotten his people supporters against Mike Pence because he had already said Pence can reverse all this or whatever. He can keep me as president, and obviously Pence he talked to a bunch of different lawyers actually about that. He was trying to figure out if he could or couldn't, and some said yeah he could, but most said he couldn't, and the most respected lawyers were saying that he couldn't do that. So after talking to them, he said that he wouldn't reverse the decision to certify the vote and everything. And then Trump was Mike Pence this, Mike Pence that to his crowd, and they were kill Mike Pence. They were chanting that.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, and they went into the Capitol, and Pence refused to leave. So I'll give him credit for that, even though he's a spineless idiot.
Right.
But he did refuse to leave. He was like, "I'm not leaving the Capitol. I'm standing here." But And while he was in there, they said that he was so angry, so shocked and betrayed. I don't know why, but apparently, like, while he was holed up in there, Trump was still tweeting, like, stuff like, oh, go into the building, this and that, or whatever he was saying.
Yeah.
And Pence was like, he's still egging these people on while me and my family are in this Capitol building, and we could come to harm,
Well, I mean, Pence has seen him betray so many people. It's hard to imagine being surprised.
He came back to him again. He's already trying to smooth things over because he doesn't want to make Trump an enemy.
I mean, at this point, who cares? I mean, like, even like the next day, like, Pence did say some stuff against him. Like, even Mitch McConnell was like, you're like, well, if you've broken ties with these two turds.
Yeah. I mean, they used him long enough. Now that he's lost, they don't really.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end. I don't know why anyone would care.
Yeah.
Just dump it and move on.
Yeah.
But so another part of this story, well, we didn't really talk about the people who got arrested, right? Like, some of them are like known, like the Cave Bear Man and
Man Bear Pig.
Yeah. And the guy with the podium. So they've both been arrested. But like, there was like I saw a tweet. So it's like the guy in the headdress. Like, he's in prison and he hasn't eaten for like 5 days because they don't have organic food.
Yeah, I saw that too.
How you gonna dress like a savage? Like a caveman,
and then be like, I don't have my organic greens.
Yeah. I guess caveman.
Where's my quinoa salad?
Maybe he really was a lefty.
Didn't they say he's QAnon? Like,
I mean, I think a lot of the people that got in there were.
It's hard to imagine there's that many.
I mean, you could tell there was definitely a large, white supremacy, element there because they had like the guy wearing like, an Auschwitz shirt and
6 million wasn't enough
and Confederate flag bearers and just.
The thing is, even if I was in a mob and I saw those guys, I'd be like, whoa, you're making this mob look bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, go find your own mob.
How do they feel so comfortable?
You're waving the flag and there's a guy next to you, like, oh shit.
Like,
fuck, I don't want this.
If you're a right winger, like, you're always trying to portray that, look, we're not racist, we just care about fiscal, policy and this and that. Well, I mean, then those are the first people you'd try to weed out. You'd be like, whoa, you're making us look bad, but they just let them right in.
Roll with the punches.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I saw a Twitter post, and I didn't have time to watch it. I probably should have, but basically it was this guy that I guess used to be a skinhead, and he was talking about how, like, at some point, like, they made a concerted effort to, like, okay, let's grow out our hair and put on uniforms. So, like, there was, like, a contingent of white supremacists who, like, purposely went to law enforcement and things like that, And that's kind of scary if you think about it. And it does make you wonder because look how many,
Well, I feel like there's always going to be an undercurrent.
Probably.
But trying to make some effort to blend in.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is they are trying to blend.
It is a little nicer when the pieces of shit like advertise it out front.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better to see a skinhead and be like, all right, I'm just not going to hang out with this person.
Note to self, I got it.
The other interesting thing I kind of marvel at is, most of this is brought on by social media. But I remember, like, the day it happened, like, we were having a discussion, and I think it was AJ's sister, Roman, was like, talking about, like, how can they, deny this now, that, and you basically said, oh, they'll just, they'll make it look like it was Antifa. It wasn't QAnon people, it was Antifa. And, like, sure enough, this is how efficient social media is I've talked on the show that I have a cousin on Facebook who's a real Trumpster and kind of a QAnon guy, and he posts all this shit. And sure enough, that same night, he posted this thing, and it showed like this guy with a tattoo, and they're like, look at the tattoo, it's Antifa. Antifa did this. And so it's like, you called it, like, easily, and that same night, I mean, it was there, So it's kind of impressive how fast the turnaround spin room that social media is.
Yeah. I mean, what's amazing about it is the people who actually stormed the Capitol, they're proud about it. They're, like, showing it off and sharing it. So I don't know how you can... I mean, you have to you have to be willingly deceiving yourself to buy into that narrative.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the people went in there with their masks up and like all that stuff were much smarter because it's coming down on everybody.
Yeah.
So
I really hope they get charged with a murder, man. Because I mean, like, I know everybody.
Well, I mean, I think that there was one guy I think they have in custody who is like one of their top suspects. Wasn't that the guy who put his feet on Pelosi's desk? I think
He's the one who.
I thought
might
he
have
might have been part of the.
Wow, that guy really
there.
has some nerve then.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't get into that kind of detail.
I could be wrong. I know they were looking for specific.
I know they arrested that guy because I saw his
Yeah,
mugshot.
he definitely got arrested. That guy.
But I mean, basically anybody that they catch on tape there, and it's a lot of them. I
Yeah,
think they
they're gonna
should
be arrested.
hunt them down and arrest them.
I mean, Trump may very well pardon all of them here in a couple days. But,
oh, wouldn't that be great?
oh, what did they vote on impeachment today?
They were supposed to vote on an impeachment. I don't know what happened. but-
I didn't look it up either.
Yeah, I've been working all day, so I'm not sure.
So even before this, like Twitter had been like putting little disclaimers on Trump's tweets and stuff, and then they finally just like locked up his account. But even before that, there's pretty strong evidence they've been like shadow banning mostly Republicans, right? So it's kind of like a weird area, but I don't know. It feels a little sketchy. Just I don't know. Part of me is like, they're a private company. They can do what they want. Like, I'm okay with that. And I'm just like, if they're creating market problems, like someone will come fill that slot. But, like Parler was kind of filling that, notoriously so. But like, they all got together like on the same day and they were on Amazon servers. So Amazon dropped Parler.
Yeah.
And then, like Google, iPhone, like they all, took it like all at the same time, and it's, like I said,
I'm glad you're bringing this. This was one of my potential topics.
Yeah.
So it's
so
good
I
that
mean,
we're getting into that.
they're companies, and I do believe they should have the freedom kind of do what they want, but like, there's kind of an open door there for Parler because they had they were affecting these people and they were affecting their voice. And so this app pops up and they're on Amazon and they're paying Amazon for their services, AWS or whatever, Amazon services. And then, Amazon's like, oh, you're breaching our contract, and dumps them. And so, I mean, it kind of, it's just kind of sketchy, I guess.
I'm all for it. Like,
I mean, something else will come and fill the space. I know it will, but I mean, just as like a proponent of free speech, I just feel like, maybe, just let people, because there's a million fucking crazy people on Twitter anyway, and probably saying all kinds of crazy shit in every fucking venue. But I don't know. I understand it. It feels a little greasy.
I think with authority figures like congressmen and people like that, they should definitely be held more accountable. If it's just like Republicans who are just, voters and stuff and they're saying stuff, I think that's fine. I think the companies have every right to do whatever they want to do, but those people aren't really affecting what's going on. It's the lawmakers who have that reach and have the ability to like form these mobs and, get people to attack. They're the ones who I think need to be held to a higher standard. And I think there are laws that say that they can't say certain things, like they can't incite this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think there's not very many. There's things like you can't say I'm going to murder the president, I think, but I don't think there's too many infractions on what you're supposed to be allowed to say publicly.
And I mean, in my short lifetime, I've seen people do a lot with freedom of speech. Like, I'm not saying that we should curb it or anything, but I mean, it is a complicated amendment. Like, having people be able to control large crowds and control a narrative and say stuff that just isn't the truth, and like,
but I mean, if you
control
look at
50% of the population.
Well, that's exactly what you're getting though, because if Twitter and Facebook control, most of the interactions between people, and they just shut them off one day, you've effectively silenced a group of people. And if you're going to do that, what's going to stop you from silencing a different group of people or whatever turns it tracks tomorrow?
No, I think there's a fine line. It's a tough one right there. I definitely don't like these extremists like having a platform. That's the one thing.
Yeah, this is definitely a complicated issue for me because I am a big advocate of free speech. But like you said, like these are, at the end of the day, they are private companies, and they, I guess should be able to make decisions like this. But I also think they need a clear standard of what gets you kicked off and what doesn't. Because, I was watching a video about this the other day, and it's like a lot of people are cheering that Donald Trump got taken off, and that's Twitter's choice, and maybe it was a good one. But like, I think like the Saudi prince, and like there's like ruthless dictators that are still on Twitter. There's people that are probably objectively worse than Trump in a lot of ways that are on Twitter. And so like, to an extent, it's like, what's the standard here?
Yeah, but they're not invested in that. But I mean, like, there's a lot of people on Twitter and the board and stuff that, donate to the Democratic Party. They're vested, in the Democratic Party.
And also, I think, like, the Saudi prince, like, I don't know if he's using Twitter as a tool to, like, drive people to do certain things. Like, we've seen that, and it's already been done here. I don't know if the Saudi prince is like, hey, go do this, to people. So that might be a difference.
But, I mean, Twitter is also on, like, Amazon services. And so when Parler got kicked off, they filed an antitrust suit. But, I mean, there's probably not, like, an actual agreement between Amazon and Twitter to do that. But, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like I said, morally, a bit questionable to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think there'll always be places for those, if nothing else, they can have a website. They're going to find a place. I mean, I've never viewed like 4chan and 8chan, places like that, but from what I understand, there's some pretty out there like racist shit on those websites.
Oh, yeah, I heard about it.
But apparently, if you want to do an app-based thing, Google and Apple and Amazon, they can cut you off. That's what they, I guess, did to Parler.
I mean, it kind of raises questions about how much you want to use their services, at least, depending what you're doing. But
now, didn't you also say that like Ron Paul got like kicked off of Facebook or something?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to throw that in there. So on January 11th, basically Ron Paul, I think I want to say every week or so, he does like a video, like blog or something like that. But he has the Liberty Report. So on the 11th, he put out this report and he posted it on Facebook, which he always does, like a link to it or whatever. And so basically he was voicing these same concerns we're talking about Twitter and some of these taking people out. And it's like kind of the same thing with him, where he kind of feels like, their company, they have their rights, but as a proponent of free speech and stuff, he feels like it's not particularly great. But he talks about, corporations getting partnerships with the government and kind of how that's kind of sketchy and stuff. So he posts that. He's not like inciting violence. I mean, he's like this old like grandpa who believes in liberty, basically. And like I think it was the same day Facebook blocked his account, so he can't go in there and use it. And I don't know. It just seems like way too extreme. And basically all he did was question like, Facebook and Twitter and Amazon for doing these things, and like it was instantaneously he was shut down.
Well, this is another reason I think is why these platforms need clear standards of what can get you kicked off. Because like they should, if they do that to him, they should say like, hey, this is what you said in this video. This here is how it clearly violates our user agreement or whatever. And also, I think most of these platforms, and I think a lot of them do, where like they don't kick you off permanently right away. They like give you some sort of slap on the wrist, maybe.
I'm guessing he's not shut down permanently because you can still view his page, but he can't edit it right now.
Oh, so it's just kind of
it's a block. But they cited block. Like multiple infractions of their their standards or whatever. But like they don't point to any tweet, they don't say anything. There's no guidance, there's no whatever. It's just like a blanket statement that's bullshit.
Now, let me ask you this, because I watched a video with a guy talking about this, and like, to an extent it makes sense, but to an extent it doesn't. And this is something, ironically, that I think most Republicans, libertarians would say hell no to. But he basically says that these new platforms are kind of like the new town hall, and he thinks the First Amendment should basically be extended to them, so that like the only way you're in violation of these platforms is if the same way you would be in violation of the First Amendment, like if you make a direct threat towards someone's person, basically. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I don't
think
know.
the government should be
I'm in
involved.
a dark spot. Yeah, I kind of think that they should be left to be free, but at the same time, they're making tons of, government donations, and they're doing things to affect elections and stuff. So, I don't know. It's a sketchy area.
You kind of mentioned it earlier, but I think also one of the more dubious things that I think a lot of these platforms have denied, but a lot of people, there's a lot of evidence that suggests it's true, is the shadow banning.
I think there's probably pretty strong evidence for Twitter.
Yeah, because that really is, in my opinion.
What is shadow banning?
So they basically, they don't officially shut you down, but they like, they kind of shut you down in the dark.
Oh.
They basically change the algorithm so that you're not
being seen.
So you're not being suggested to new people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they don't like, directly like kick you off. They just make it so you're going to be getting a lot less followers.
So moving past that, we've got Biden's inauguration coming. So the question is about violence, and there's obviously going to be probably a lot of security in place. But we were talking earlier about like people going undercover, and there's like apparently a lot of people who are saying they're like Proud Boys are going to dress like Biden fans or whatever. They're going to have hats, T-shirts, whatever, and they're going to go in there and be violent. So what do you guys think about that?
Violence, man. I mean, like, people should know by now, like, unless you're like a country with an overwhelming military force, violence is not really going to get you out of the situation, not going to help you.
Well, I mean, it didn't take much to get into the Capitol.
Yeah, but what did that accomplish? It just made them look bad.
I mean, at the end of the day, if politicians are scared, you have some leverage. That's terrorism. That's the whole purpose of terrorism.
But will politicians be afraid of Proud Boys, like, just because they showed up at the Capitol and beat up some people or something? No.
I mean, it depends how far you want to go.
I mean, so if the
apparently they were scared while they were there.
I mean, it's a good thing if they're intimidated, because like then they'll crack down. Maybe maybe they'll say, "Hey, look, they're coming this far. They're reaching out to us here in Washington. We should do something about this."
I mean, they might put more regulations and sanctions and crap in place, and they might have more security on site.
Yeah, here's the thing. I have no doubt that there'll be some protesters and these people at the inauguration, but it won't be like the Capitol, because, the new president's going to be there. So I think, first of all, you'll see a lot larger show of force. You'll probably see a lot of military people right on the grounds there. And I don't think these people are going to, actually pick a fight with the military. I think they got away with what they did at the Capitol because they could see that the Capitol wasn't, restricting them the way they should have. But so yeah, there'll definitely be some idiots that show up there. And then, to be honest, I think a lot of these people, after they see what happened to these idiots that did raid the Capitol, that's probably a deterrent too. They're like, shit, I don't want to be on the no-fly list and all this shit. So I don't expect anything really radical to happen at the inauguration because of these measures I'm sure they'll take. But yeah, there'll be some idiots there for sure.
I mean, honestly, this is going to sound bad, but if the Proud Boys tried to commit like some sort of assassination attempt, that would be good for liberals. Because like then they would actually crack down on these people. They would say, hey, they're on the terrorist list. We need to go after them. We need to just like completely dissolve their organization. I mean, that might be a good thing if they actually try something bold.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do kind of wonder what the long-term ramifications will be from like the Capitol thing. because you always wonder, like, are kids that are like, let's say teenagers that saw all this unfold last week. Do you think this makes them like roll their eyes that there's these idiots out there doing this? Or do you think it makes them go, is there something to this QAnon stuff? Like, that's the thing I wonder is like, will the next generation like learn like from the mistakes that are going on with social media right now and be more savvy to it?
I mean, are people our age intelligent right now?
I mean, you can argue that there's a lot of...
Let's say the average. What percentage?
It's a good question because I think like the percentage of people that are like buy into the QAnon stuff is a lot higher than you'd want it to be.
I mean, just like poor beliefs in general. Like we all have like a million beliefs and we all have like a million blind spots. But most people don't even attempt to be educated about anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I mean, I try sometimes, but like I still.
That's the thing, though. You try, and there's a lot of people that don't. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a very subjective thing, because like I've met people that would definitely qualify as rednecks, but I wouldn't call them stupid by any means, But
no. I mean, I think Christianity is stupid, but I don't think all Christians are stupid.
Yeah,
but I do think that they have. A problem in their belief system.
Alex Jones even called out QAnon. He was like, I'm not going to listen to these people ever. I never did. I don't trust them, blah, 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 this and that. So he went off. And Alex Jones believes in lizard people.
He never found a conspiracy he didn't like.
But didn't he recently go off about how the election was fraudulent and all that kind of bullshit too?
Oh, did he?
I don't listen
makes
to him.
sense.
I think he did.
I think I should listen to him just because I enjoy it a lot. But I
don't want to give him the money. That's the only thing. I think he'd be hilarious too.
Well, you have to pay for his podcast?
I don't know about that. I just don't want to support him in any way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, this actually is a good topic of conversation. I think it's it's probably something people are tired of hearing about, but I think it is, these are, pretty critical issues and are, things that are going to keep popping up, especially, how social media is affecting people and all that kind of stuff.
You know what I think is also a big part of it, like for both sides, because both sides have had like rioting and violence and just the craziness. I think it's just that so many people are out of work and they're just like rambunctious. They're like, if I can't work, I'm just going to go fucking do something crazy. Might as well go to the Capitol and stir some shit. I don't fucking know.
All right.
I really wonder if everybody was working, if it'd be like a lot calmer in this country right now.
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. The class situation is pretty bad too.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, I don't think the rioting in Portland would have been nearly as bad if everybody was still working. It's like everybody's just sitting at home getting cabin fever. Like,
I think cabin fever had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
I definitely think that. I think the virus probably had more to do with it than anything. Just because people were all cooped up and had to get it all out.
Had to get it out of their system.
But you would have thought the fear of the virus would have kept more people in, but no, they went and protested a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, to the point of being ridiculous is like, this is basically one of the things you shouldn't be doing right now.
Yeah. I know, but so after when Trump won the Biden won the presidency, when people were celebrating, I definitely understood that feeling.
Well, the thing in Portland is like right when that happened, the weather got shitty and just like all the protests died, and I was like, oh, thank God. I was so sick of that shit. It's just like months of just fucking protests every day. I don't know.
Well, either of you guys got anything more on this subject, or do you want to move on?
I don't have a ton. You can move on to something else, but
I got something on this subject.
On this one?
Yeah. So this is about Josh Hawley. He's one of the congressmen over there who incited the violence. After helping incite Capitol mob, Josh Hawley,
he's the one that went in with the group.
He was standing at the Capitol and like raised his fist, and they all like it kind of signaled them to like rush the
Yeah, I think I saw that.
After helping incite Capitol mob, Josh Hawley says he's the victim. 5 people died in an attack on the Capitol last week, one of the worst crises the U.S. government has ever faced. But Senator Josh Hawley, a Republican from Missouri who helped incite the riot, believes he's the real victim. In an interview with Fox News on Monday night, Hawley didn't even mention the violence at the Capitol. Instead, he whined about publisher Simon & Schuster canceling his book deal. They don't like the exercise of free speech, Hawley said, adding that his starring role as the lead objector to the presidential election merely reprised Democratic objections to the elections in prior years.
That probably would have raised sales.
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, it's the same thing. If they're a private company, they don't want to support them, that's fine.
Yeah, see if someone else will pick it up.
Yeah. A key difference, though, is that when Democrats objected to certifying election results, they didn't do so with full backing of the losing candidate while also fomenting a crowd of supporters angling for violence. The threat was so obvious that Capitol Police told lawmakers to use underground tunnels to get from their offices to the Capitol buildings. Hawley instead opted to make a grand entrance from the Capitol Plaza and raise his fist to the crowd, members of which soon stormed the Capitol, ransacked offices, and killed a police officer. They did it all to thwart the certification of the election that President Donald Trump, Hawley, and others dishonestly claimed was tainted by fraud. Simon & Schuster saw what happened and canceled Hawley's forthcoming book about the tyranny of big tech companies. As a publisher, it will always be our mission to amplify a variety of voices and viewpoints. At the same time, we take seriously our larger public responsibility as citizens and cannot support Senator Hawley after his role in what became a dangerous threat to our democracy and freedom, the publisher said. Hawley still voted to throw out the election results even after having to hide in a secure room while the mob trashed the Capitol. He has denounced violence but has only used the word mob to describe Simon & Schuster. In his Fox News interview, he pretended to be the victim of an assault on the First Amendment, even as diehard Trump supporters continue to threaten and physically attack reporters for just doing their jobs. I think it shows we are in a period where the First Amendment values and principles of freedom of speech and also freedom of worship, freedom of religion, these things are really under attack by many quarters, he said. The First Amendment to the Constitution says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or the press, but it doesn't say anything about a private company canceling a contract with a public figure who incites mob violence. There's probably no greater threat to constitutional government and the rights it guarantees than a major political party trying to overthrow the results of an election, as Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said before the vote to certify last week. We cannot simply declare ourselves a national board of elections on steroids, McConnell said. The voters, the courts, and the states have all spoken, blah, blah. So, I mean, Josh Hawley is a piece of shit, and I hope some what are they called? Those heroes who don't have the law on their side, but they still the Punisher, vigilante. I hope some vigilante gets his hands on this guy. He is the biggest piece of trash, and I just really hope somebody does something to him. But yeah, I mean, this guy wants to sell books and make money, and he's a scumbag. I'm glad his shit got canceled.
I'm starting to wonder if Simon & Schuster is owned by Facebook. What did you say? Is something against big tech?
Yeah, that's true. He was already against big tech, and now big tech is shutting all these assholes down.
Yeah, big tech has got their hands on stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Simon & Schuster, I don't want to think of a publishing company having much to do with big tech, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Amazon, a company that big could own anything. But who knows?
But, I mean, that's not why his book deal got canceled. That's part of it, probably. I'm sure, if there are tech companies that own Simon & Schuster, if somebody does, then maybe they had thought about that. But, I mean...
Well, I mean, I would think if you're, in the middle of a controversy, that's just, part of that whole there's no bad publicity thing. You'll see...
If you're a bad person, yeah. If you're a good person with a soul...
But how many big companies give a shit about anything?
Hopefully these companies do. I mean, I'm positive about what Amazon and all these companies are, trying to do, like Washington Post. They're trying to be more, inclusive in society, and they're trying to... I think morals and values are playing a part in what they're trying to do. I really hope so.
I think you just always wonder about the slippery slope because, right now we're they take down Trump and a few of these assholes that are stirring people up.
Now, if they could just get the Jews.
No, but the thing is how long before they go, this comedian made a joke and we don't like jokes. We're going to shut him. That's where it gets.
But that's not the big problem for people like me. Like, if you're brown in this country, if you're black, you're not thinking like, oh, I don't want the government to stop my freedom of speech in 20 years or whatever down the road. You're thinking right now, I don't want to get shot by a cop. I don't want to, get crowd violence incited against me and minorities. Did you hear about that black woman who was in Washington who they asked her before the mob stormed the Capitol, they said, did you vote for Trump? And she was like, hell no, and gave him the finger. They grabbed her, pulled her wig off, maced her, and left her in the street. I mean, and the cops watched it.
I did see something about that.
So, I mean, the bigger concern for me is not freedom of speech right now. It's about living and trying to live like a normal life.
Yeah, I mean, it is a hard subject because there's definitely some assholes out there that really shouldn't have a huge platform like that. But you wonder about the possible ramifications down the road and how things can get out of hand. But I mean, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But as far as this Hawley guy, like I don't wish any violence on the guy, but his political career should be over, and if he broke the law, he should be arrested or whatever.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain he resigned.
Oh, did he? Oh, thank God.
Was he from like one of the Dakotas or something?
Missouri.
Maybe it's not the same guy I'm thinking of. I don't know.
Well, I think I'll bring it to a lighter subject.
Yeah, that's just gears.
Just a silly subject to lighten things back up.
Do you have a good segue?
Not really.
Speaking of a black woman who's been maced.
But here's a silly subject. I was wondering if you guys remember like any silly games you made up as kids and or played as. I'm thinking less like board games, more like either like mental games or maybe physical games. So like one that comes to mind is like we used to play this game called MASH a lot. At least me and my cousin Mick did. MASH stands for Mansion, Apartment, Shack, House. And so basically I remember there was these different categories. So that was one of them. And basically it was like, when you grow up, where are you going to live? And then one of them was like, what kind of car are you going to drive? So there was like Toyota, Ford, Dodge, whatever. I think one category was like, are you going to be single, married, divorced, maybe something else? And then one of them was like, how many kids are you going to have? Anyway, on a piece of paper, you would put all these different things. And then you would have the person give you a random number between, 1 and 10 or whatever. And, you would go that many and like X one out. And so you would keep having them pick these random numbers until there's just like the one of each category left. And so at the end, you'd be like, okay, when you get older, you're going to be a divorced guy that lives in a shack, drives a Ford, has, 4 kids or whatever. It was just a stupid game. So that's one. Me and him made up this really weird game called Ralph and George.
Oh, yeah, that was terrible.
We were these fictional characters named Ralph and George. And basically we made these elaborate death traps, like almost like Batman 66 style death traps for the other person. And we'd be like, okay, we're going to bury you and put you in a coffin and we're going to fill it with concrete. We'd have all these things. And then at the end, the other person would have to try to think of a clever way out of the death trap. And if they did, they won. If not, the other person won. So yeah, that's just some silly bullshit we used to play. What about you? Did you ever?
That reminds me of what I used to do. When I was a kid, I used to booby trap my room. So I would use like hangers and sheets and all kinds of stuff. So if somebody walked in, like something would happen to them. So not just my room, my closet, like any door I could find that was like my space, I would try to do that and try to see like Macaulay Culkin. So I think Home Alone had a huge impact on me.
That movie pretty much raised me.
No wet bandits are going to get near this house.
Home Alone was so brilliant for like adapting cartoons to like a movie.
Yeah.
No, it's surprising how well it did, but even watching my kids watch it, they laugh so much.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I remember for my birthday, we got Home Alone 2, and we watched it like over and over, and we were just laughing the whole time. We loved it. I get it.
You know another game we used to play, and I don't remember what it was called, and I never knew how to make the things, but you know those they would make those paper things with like the four things, and you would like
Oh yeah, there's always like one kid at school who knew how to make those.
yeah, and like I forget what the game was exactly. Like the things would have things written on them, and then you'd eventually get to one, and they'd pull it out, and it'd say something on there that was part of the game. I don't even remember exactly how you play it or what that thing was called. I just remember people doing that, you know.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah,
Mostly the
I'm not doing
girls.
this all.
I mean, we played a lot of basic games too when we were kids with our cousins, like, you know, freeze tag and shit like that. I'm sure we made up some silly physical games too, but I don't really remember.
I played most of my games like baseball, basketball, football, those kind of sports and stuff outside. In school, I was always in timeout, so I'd always have to watch other people play those games.
I never played the sports in school. I should have.
I do remember once at our house we were playing Truth or Dare, and me and my cousin Mick were dared to lick the hallway up and down, and we did that.
Yeah, that's some good shit.
Yeah, I've done Truth and Dare. I ate ants for Truth or
Oh,
Dare.
you ate some ants? Nice.
You got any Truth or Dare?
I can't think of any like really gross ones.
I remember one time at their house too, Truth or Dare, we got Mick to run up and down his house in just his underwear, and I remember his dad being all pissed off.
Man, yeah, I'm sure you've heard the dad stories, but apparently when they were kids, like they would play like chicken, so they'd go down the barn and like put their arm out against the wall, and someone else would throw a knife, and like if you moved your arm, like you were chicken, so you lost. And so he got like a chef's knife thrown, and it went like all the way through his arm and stuck him to the barn.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's a fun one.
He went to the hospital?
I don't remember probably.
The only thing with dad
Stitches.
stories is you never know.
Never sure how much
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah.
But that is a little bit, there is some truth there. But there's another one. He said he knew a couple kids growing up, and they were like, one would hold a bottle cap and the other one would shoot it out of their hand with a 22. And so like he got like tip of his finger shot off.
Of course, yeah. How old were they?
Exactly what you would expect. Who knows?
God.
Like you can have kids. When my dad was a kid, like I think they had guns.
Oh, yeah. Very early on.
Seems like if kids in high school had my high school where I went to, if they had guns, it would have been a lot worse.
Well, I know like when he went to school and stuff, like high school people would have like gun racks in their cars because they go hunting after school. So, you know, they'd have guns out in their cars in the parking lot and stuff.
I feel like in the country, schools are smaller, so there's like less friction between so many people, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know when we were in school, it sounded like it was much mellower than like when he was in school. But I don't know. It was kind of a change in the community because like when he was young, there's like all these young people came in to build a dam and stuff. And so you've got a bunch of young people and like the bars are kind of rough and rowdy and just a little wilder, you know, kind of a group of people. And then when those jobs kind of went away, a lot of people kind of moved out. It's a little older generations. And I don't know, it just seemed a lot quieter.
Oh, okay.
Well, that was my stupid topic. AJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right. This one is interesting to me. I hope it's interesting to other people. But archaeologists in Turkey have uncovered a mysterious ancient kingdom lost in history. It was said that all he touched turned to gold, but destiny eventually caught up with the legendary King Midas, and a long-lost chronicle of his ancient downfall appears to have literally surfaced in Turkey. Last year, archaeologists were investigating an ancient mound site in central Turkey called Turkmen, where'd it go? Kaya Hoyuk. The greater region, the Konya Plain, abounds with the lost metropolises, but even so, researchers couldn't have been prepared for what they were about to find. A local farmer told the group that a nearby canal, recently dredged, revealed the existence of a large strange stone marked with some kind of unknown inscription. We could see it still sticking out of the water, so we jumped right down into the canal, up to our waists wading in water, said archaeologist James Osborne of Chicago earlier this year. Right away, it was clear it was ancient, and we recognized the script it was written in, Luwian, the language used in the ancient Bronze and Iron ages in that region. With the aid of translators, the researchers found that the hieroglyphs on this ancient stone block called a stele boasted of a military victory, and not just any military victory, but the defeat of Phrygia, a kingdom of Anatolia that existed roughly 3,000 years ago. The royal house of Phrygia was ruled by a few different men called Midas, but dating of the stele, based on linguistic analysis, suggests the block's hieroglyphics could be referring to the King Midas. He is of the famous Golden Touch myth. The stone markings also contained a special hieroglyphic symbolizing that the victory message came from another king, a man called Hartapu. The hieroglyphs suggest Midas was captured by Hartapu's forces. The storm gods delivered the opposing kings to his majesty, the stone reads. What's significant about that is that almost nothing is known about King Hartapu, nor about the kingdom he ruled. Nonetheless, the stele suggests the giant mound of Turkmen Kayahoyuk may have been Hartapu's capital city, spanning from 300 acres in its heyday. The heart of the ancient conquest of Midas and Phrygia. We had no idea about this kingdom, Osborne said. In a flash, we had profound new information on the Iron Age Middle East. There's a lot more digging to be done. This ongoing archaeological research project. In this project, and the findings so far should be considered preliminary for now. The international team is eager to revisit the site this year to find out whatever more they can about the history. So, I mean, the King Midas that we all hear. What's amazing is that, they did have writing, obviously, but I think that's a story that we mostly get passed down from, voice. Like, people actually share that story like that, just passing it down from generation to generation, right?
Yeah, I've definitely heard some version of it in, kids' books.
I mean, 3,000 years of the same story about a King Midas. It seems fictional, It seems like the guy never really existed, but there was a guy. I don't think the Golden Touch existed, but, we have accurate information from 3,000 years ago. Imagine, maybe there are some stories like Atlantis or whatever. I know it's a little conspiracy here, but I mean, there are a lot of stories that are ancient that...
they still find a lot of archaeological stuff, so you never know what's going to around the corner.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah, I don't got much to say on it, but yeah, that kind of stuff is always interesting. They find these things, still finding this kind of shit that makes you go, you know.
Yeah, I pop onto the science websites once in a while. I hadn't seen that one.
What would you rather have? I think this is an easy question, but would you rather have the ability to change reality, make anything, whatever, or would you rather travel through time?
I would choose the reality.
Yeah, I would choose the reality one too. But China,
I kind of want to choose that one, but then I'm at some point I'm kind of maybe I'm not creative enough to have that power. I'll be and here's a cartoon character with a 4-foot dick. Be oh, I'm fucking this up. I know it.
It's 20 feet in this other show. I can't beat that.
The thing is, you just use it to be oh, my reality is that I live in a giant house and I'm doing really well.
Yeah, that's the reality you would
and
make.
I look really good.
Yeah. Just warp those things. Have a giant penis.
Yeah.
Change your name to Hillermand or whatever.
Him and his big old monkey tail penis that can grab
Stop
on
lions,
things.
grab ice cream.
What do they call that when the ability to you know what I'm talking about?
To curl the tail.
prehensile.
Yeah. He's got a prehensile dick.
Yeah. That's my topic.
All right.
You'd have a little trouble keeping balance at 20 feet.
Yeah. At 20 feet long, it would tilt downward. You'd be dragging that.
All the blood from the rest of your body.
Oh, yeah.
Can you just pass out?
Yeah, every time, yeah.
Although when I heard that he was like using it to walk his dog and shit, like he could get in some really bad positions.
It like wraps itself around a fire hose.
Or it starts like biting on it because it one's free.
Yeah. It's like jerking him off. He keeps pulling. I can't do anything about it. Just a dog covered in white.
Well, it's full circle. Do we stop or we keep going?
We can go a little bit longer. You got anything else?
I got nothing really good. It looks like there's a good chance Screech has cancer.
Screech? Are you serious?
Screech.
At least he did all the fucking he could, right? That's the good thing. But man,
I saw him in a video where he was talking about the new Saved by the Bell, where he's like, they should have everybody. They should bring me back. Basically.
Yeah, he would definitely feel that way. I can't believe they brought that show back. I haven't seen it. Have you?
I haven't. I can't even imagine.
Now they have their own kids and stuff.
It's not in a school. He's governor or something, like you said.
Zach?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think I heard something like that too.
I don't know. It's very confusing.
I haven't watched that Cobra Kai show that everybody loves, but maybe it'll be like that and people will love it.
Yeah, I've watched a couple seasons of Cobra Kai. It's kind of melodramatic, but it's not bad.
I do this thing where, like, if people tell me about a good show, I'm like, all right, I'm going to save it and watch it when I really want to. Now I'll just watch,
when I'm
other
desperate.
shows. Yeah, when I'm desperate, when I've run out of shows to watch. But, yeah, I need to start watching those shows. I'm going to watch Lovecraft Country. You told me about that one.
Yeah, I really like that one. Yeah, it's a good mix of different ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, looking at the time here, I think I'll do one more small story that I found interesting, and then we'll call it a wrap. Sound good?
Sounds good.
South Korean city to pay residents $100,000 to have babies. A South Korean city is offering a grant of nearly $100,000 for couples who have at least 3 children, according to a local press report. South Korean network KNN reported Wednesday the city of Shangwon, the capital of South whatever province, is combating the problem of a declining population with financial incentives. The new policy grants loans of 100 million South Korean won, or about $92,000, to all married couples residing in the city. If the couple gives birth to one child, the interest on the loan would be waived. For 2 children, 30% of the loan principal would be forgiven. If the family has 3 children, the entire loan is forgiven or becomes a grant, according to a report. Kim Jong-pil, a representative of Changwon's planning department, said the policy comes at a time when more innovative marriage and childbirth incentives are needed in the city, a statement that reflects similar concerns about a declining birth rate across the country. South Korea's Ministry of Interior and Safety said that the country recorded more deaths than births in 2020. Last year, there were 275,815 births and 307,764 deaths, the first time the South has reached the population death cross, according to CNN. In Changwon, officials are concerned the population could fall under 1 million. The local government has also said it plans to create more jobs by attracting companies and subsidizing housing for workers and university students. Long work hours and lack of job opportunities in South Korea's competitive society have been cited as economic cause for the relatively low birth rate and increasingly low rates of marriage among South Koreans in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. So I just thought that was interesting that, they're actually paying people to have kids when in so many places overpopulation is a problem.
I think they do that in the Middle East too. I don't know if they pay to have kids, but you do get like a monthly income or something the bigger your family is, I think.
I mean, I feel like overpopulation is Earth's biggest problem. Like, why are you paying people to have more kids? And also, like, if I'm a taxpayer and they're like, oh, we're just going to take a bunch of money and give it to people to have kids, I'm going to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. You know what sucked, though, is if you took this deal and then, like, you had the one kid that then something happened. You found out you couldn't have any more, so then you owe back this like loan or whatever.
Yeah, it's weird that it's a loan as well.
Yes, yes, it's very strange.
But I mean, if it makes economic sense to do it, then I guess more power to them.
Be like, let's pump out 3 kids in the next 3 years, and we'll take this $100,000.
That's not enough to
start
raise.
somewhere else.
I'm wondering how bad they were affected by COVID though, and if maybe COVID had played a part in there being more deaths than births.
I mean, it
I
sounds
didn't
like the
think
whole
their numbers
plan,
were
like
that high.
you're gonna need more taxes. It makes it seem like you'd want to move there even less.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, if they figure the reason less people are having kids is because of economic decline, you'd think you would want to put your resources into figuring out what could boost the economy.
I mean, I know the trend in the U.S. is like, we don't need as many workers anymore. Like, it's more about automation. And I would think Korea
It
would.
depends. I mean, there's always a change, and there's always like a move towards anything you can automate. Is usually you can, but I don't know.
I wonder what is the U.S. birth rate going up or staying steady or declining? That's another thing I kind of wonder about.
I mean, as far as I know, it's still increasing.
Because our economy isn't great. I'm not planning on having kids, but even if I was, I've never been economically stable enough to where I feel like I could, really have kids.
Yeah, I think less. I don't know the numbers, but I would imagine more people are living with their families in their 30s. It's harder to afford a house. I would imagine that you're not seeing as many kids born as you used to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is kind of like a thing. Like when times are a little tighter, maybe there's less.
Yeah, because we definitely know that in the U.S., the middle class is declining, and there's
because
bigger.
you do see that in Europe.
And so you would think if the middle class is declining, people would have less kids. And like you said, more people would be living with their parents longer, so they wouldn't want to have kids. But I don't know. But yeah, I definitely thought it was bizarre that they were, giving these people these pretty sizable loans,
Yeah.
92,000 American dollars. And, if they have 3 kids, they don't have to pay it back. It's
But I wonder,
a weird thing.
I don't know the cost of living in Korea, if it's higher than the U.S. or lower. But I wonder how far that gets you with 3 kids. Because in the U.S., $100,000 wouldn't raise 3 kids.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a little cheaper. So.
Okay.
I've always wondered, though, because I once saw an interview with Jim Lee, who's, a famous comic book artist from South Korea. And he was talking, and he's basically like, any South Korean person, celebrity is from Seoul, because basically South Korea is Seoul, and then just really poor farming villages. And so I was like, is this place they're talking about, is it part of Seoul? I don't know.
Seoul's a huge city in Korea. I think it takes up a lot of the country, I think.
You were stationed in Seoul for a while, weren't you, in the Army?
I wasn't stationed there. I think I landed a plane there and then was immediately shuttled somewhere else.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, I don't really remember anything.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it. You guys got anything else you want to add before we wrap things up here?
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate everybody for watching or listening. If you would, please give us a like or subscribe. And also, if you're listening to this on podcast feed, please also subscribe to the YouTube feed, or vice versa. If you're watching this on YouTube, we would appreciate you subscribing to us on whatever feed you listen to podcasts on. Give us a comment. We always like comments, constructive or otherwise. And then positive review. If you could write us a positive review, that would be great. And one more time, let's go around, guys. Where can people find you on Twitter?
At a name for this 2, and that's the number 2.
At unsolicited SUG.
And you can find me at Zach Jones Live, ZachJonesLive. Geez, Live. Can't talk today. All right, guys. That'll do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. We'll catch you again next week. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.